Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Top Agent Commercial Wednesday. Very excited time today to discuss HOAs. A lot of times people hear HOAs. When I heard it from Brandon, I was like, what the heck, HOAs? Don't talk to me about HOAs. But I'll just tell you this. It is really important to incorporate this in your business. I would say anyone that lives in an HOA, and I know Brandon would show some stats because I was surprised at some of these numbers with HOAs, because when I lived in an HOA in downtown, working at Marcus and Millichap, I remember some people said, well, you're in commercial property management, you understand numbers, why don't you run for the board? And I'm like, I don't know about this, but I've run other nonprofits, I've been involved. So I said, why not? Let me try this out. And there is a process, procedures, a learning curve. There is a lot of politics, but I'll just tell you, a lot of the HOAs is management, is leadership, is managing people when you're on the board, but you're in such a tight-knit community, as a lot of stories have been popping up, let's say, especially in Florida, with homeowners insurance, how you manage an HOA. Because unlike the government, we can't keep printing money and then fixing problems, right? It does come out of your pocket. Everyone that's part of the HOA has to pay or special assessment. But with Brandon talking about this, I definitely know, sharing some of the stats and information, the book, the course. How are you changing the HOA? Because it really is, to a lot of people, not a favorable experience. So Brandon, if you don't mind sharing your background, your story, history, and how did you come up with this HOA idea?
Yeah, well, thanks, Jim. Appreciate you having me here. And it's interesting. People hear HOA and they're immediately like, "Oh my gosh, I hate my HOA." And I think those of you that are in the real estate business have probably had a lot of transactions that came to a screeching halt because the HOA didn't play ball and they didn't act fast enough and closings got delayed. And so it's a big issue that we're out to solve. But kind of my origin story is I got in the mortgage business back in my 20s. I was a single dad. I got custody of my son when he was 2 years old, and I was making 20 grand a year at the time, and I had to make a change. So I ended up getting into the mortgage business, had somebody that mentored me in the art and science of what I now call raving referrals, and I was able to 10x my income from 20,000 a year to $200,000 a year in just 18 months by really learning the art and science of referrals. So over my mortgage career, I did 12 years in the mortgage business. I did over $500 million in transactions. And then I went on to building tech companies. I had built an early version of Zillow back in Portland, Oregon, where I lived. And back in 1997, you couldn't find online listings. I said, this is silly. People want to be able to sit at home in their underwear and search for homes. And that's obviously what we do now. So I started featuring listings for real estate agents that I wanted to have on my website. And that really helped me create success, but also add value to everyone involved. And fast forward, I've now built 10 different tech platforms. My last was called refer.com. We built that up to over 5 million members, including over 250,000 realtors. So I just have a passion for the business. And after we exited that, James, that's when we started this company about 5 years ago.
And Brandon, it's crazy because I went to another networking function and I would remember walking by and I saw HOA, right? So anything real estate related, finance related, I had to come over to talk to you. And I said, well, tell me a little bit about HOA.com, because I don't know if that's the name I would use, because obviously my experience being on the board, running it, going through all the drama. And boy, I think a lot of people that have sit on the board for HOAs will say, I will never do that again. So how do you come up with the HOA.com and the premise? And what are you trying to build with HOA.com?
Yeah, great question. So we started this company as the Homeowner Alliance. And we first started 5 years ago. We said we want to create a referral network for professionals who serve homeowners. So that's where we started. And about 4 years ago, I was sitting there with my partner and I said, this domain, the homeowneralliance.com, is too long to fit on the side of a bus. So if we could have any domain in the world, what would it be? And it was Homeowner Alliance. So I went to HOA.com. And at that point, they weren't in this business. And I just reached out to the owner, made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And that's changed everything. And what I've learned about homeowners associations is that it's a massive issue. Like 53, let me just share a couple of things. You asked for some slides. I didn't really come prepared for a presentation, James, but I do have a couple of things, which is 53% of all homes in the US are in HOAs, right? So I ask real estate agents all the time, when you look back at your 2024 closings, how many of them were in HOAs? And the answers, I get two answers: all of them or most of them, right? So for most agents, their transactions are in HOAs. There's over 375,000 HOAs, and 84% of all new homes are in HOAs. So there's 4,000 new HOAs that will get created this year, right? So this is a massive part of the market that people are underserving. If you're in Florida, that's over 2/3 of all homeowners in the state of Florida that live in an HOA, 4 million homes, and 87% of new homes sold in southern states were in HOAs. So it's just a massive market. Here's some of the largest metro areas and the percentage of HOAs. So you've got some communities where almost 90% of all homes listed are in HOAs. Others, it's 80%, 75%. So it's a massive market. And my question to agents is, what are you doing to really stand out from the competition and win your share, win top listings in these HOAs? And that's really what we're on a mission to do, is revolutionize the way homeowner associations serve their HOAs through our technology platform for the HOA boards. But then also on the other side, we have a platform, I say it's kind of like Nextdoor meets Angie's List meets Zillow, where you as a real estate agent can become that top trusted real estate agent for the HOAs that you farm.
And that's something that as you build it and being on the board, I remember I had to take a course, or I actually wanted to learn how to run associations, kind of being pushed in, because there's always one side didn't like this way. A whole group of homeowners said, Jim, you should do it this way. But I know every time I sat in it, and eventually as we scaled up, I ran other property management companies that I had, we managed HOAs. So there are the pieces of, you are, let's say, a realtor. There's always a realtor from whatever reason, or multiple, trying to sit on the board because they like to know when listings are coming up, who's moving out, what's going on, right? So they can kind of approach them, or at least to say, hey, there's another condo or something being sold in our building. And I know even with NAR, they have a condo specialist, right? Because there are nuances. So can you just explain, let's say from the agent, both residential, commercial, because I was a commercial agent on the board.
Right.
Can you explain how this program can help agents, let's say, understand it, learn to possibly be on the board, take all these courses, and maybe create a community to create other opportunities in your HOA?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're all about community, as you see. It's really about unity through community. But this applies both to residential agents and commercial agents. If you're a commercial agent listening right now, the reality is you're probably selling some condo towers, or you would like to. What this designation does is it shows that you're an expert, and we haven't rolled it out yet. James asked me to come on and kind of tease you a little bit. It's coming out next month in April. And what it will do is really teach you all of the elements. And let me just show you kind of the overview of the program. There's 10 modules in what we're rolling out, which is a certified HOA specialist designation. It's the first time there has been an HOA designation and certification in the real estate industry. And so it'll teach you the HOA basics, really understanding how HOAs operate, rules and regulations, all the disclosures and documents that you need to understand as you're guiding clients through the process. And then also how to analyze the fees and financials, because what you don't want to do is lead a client to an HOA that's underfunded, where there's red flags that you may have just missed or not seen. So you want to be able to guide people through the right HOAs and stay away from an HOA that's underfunded and is going to ask for a special assessment right as soon as your client moves in. We teach you how to market HOA properties, how to handle specific buyer questions, because especially if you have buyers that are moving into an HOA for the first time, maybe it's either a first-time home buyer or someone who's just never lived in an HOA, they're going to have questions that you may not have thought about before. So we teach you how to answer those and then how to navigate the transfer process with all the resale requirements to ensure that the transaction closes smoothly. And then also how to manage HOA challenges and conflicts. There's things that come up that your clients are going to call you with questions about, and you need to understand what those issues are and then how to guide them to have the optimal experience within that HOA. And then probably my favorite two modules are the last two, which is how do you build relationships with HOA boards, leaders, and also community management companies that oversee dozens, if not hundreds of HOAs where you become their go-to real estate specialist. And now they're recommending you to all of the homeowners, home sellers, and also the people that are considering buying. And then lastly, marketing yourself as a certified HOA specialist. And we're doing some really unique things to help real estate agents get embedded in communities and really farm them. We call it hyper-local social farming. And when you get in deep with an HOA, now suddenly they're recommending you, they're promoting your events that you're doing within the community, and now you elevate your expert authority. And that's the key, right? You want to stand out from the competition. If you're going into a listing appointment, this designation will help you win more listings in top HOAs and create communities of people that are promoting you to everyone they know.
Well, and on the commercial, it's funny because people don't think of this, but even when I was interested, I like to study a lot. I was going to finish up my GRI. Everyone knows that's a heavy lift for the residential. I took the secondary resort. I think I did take the condo specialist too, just because I wanted to understand. I lived in a condo, but I think what you're covering is even broader of how to do some more business, how to plug in other things that they're not thinking of. But I'll tell you this too, a lot of my commercial practitioners, we always say anything that's not owner occupied is commercial. Many times we do find opportunities where I remember when downtown went to the skids, right? And like maybe Florida right now, HOAs, there's fire sales. People are just selling it. There are large investors looking at it like a multifamily because it's all in one area and they buy blocks. I remember in downtown when this happened, they could buy at 30 to 50,000 a unit. They were buying like $2 or $3 million. Believe it or not, because they bought each one, they had a vote and they were so strong, they voted themselves in because they had a vote because they owned and will special rules that allow you to rent it out, that you're not the direct homeowners, right? That was always a challenge, finance. But having that as, let's say, commercial, understanding this, to go on, let's say, large portfolios, analyzing the number as a commercial agent, buying whole pools, right? Getting money, leveraging it, buying as a pool. And there's ways that you can buy it as bulk. And some of these lenders, like I know with Greystone and others, they said within a 1 mile radius, you can buy all the homes and consider it like an apartment loan. So if you put enough together, run the numbers, run the HOA, I mean, this is the math, because they're going to sell at a certain price. But now, depending on the amount of HOA, you can actually run the board because not everyone votes, even though we try to get everyone to be invested. So these are the interesting things that I want people to think of. What does HOA do to me? But like you said, most people do leave an HOA, and they're not always these large buildings that everyone's cram packed like sardines in metro areas or in the downtown areas. Sometimes they're spread out, right? They're PUDs that have HOAs, and you just don't think about it. You always think that it's all crammed together. So Brandon, can you just tease everyone? I know you're putting a course, but can you show a little of your technology, what you're building? And those, right, that are, let's say, take the course or want to plug in, how do you build your, I would say, your ecosystem, right? Your community to help each other create business? Because that was my first question when I met with you. It's like, okay, I get this. How does this work?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to show you a little bit about HOA.com beyond just the class. I just want to touch on one thing. You mentioned GRI, as I understand it, that GRI designation takes about 90 hours to earn that designation, right? So it's not a light lift. Ours is about a 4 hour class, a little over 4 hours, and it's self-study. You'll be able to watch it at home on demand video and go through it as your schedule allows. So the key though is really separating yourself from the competition, right? You're going to go into listing appointments, and if you are a certified HOA specialist and another agent is not, it helps you just stand out from the crowd. But more importantly, like you said, James, you can take over an HOA board pretty easily. Now, we're not advocates for that. Of course, if you see some boards that aren't operating effectively, that's something that you should look at. But yeah, let me just show you a little bit about what we're building at HOA.com and what's here, what's coming up. So I mentioned we say it's like Nextdoor meets Angie's List meets Zillow. We've created pages for every neighborhood in America, whether it's an HOA or not. I mentioned there's 375,000 HOAs. So you'll have access to the board members once you're logged in and you access it. It's really sort of like a homes.com community page where you can learn all kinds of interesting facts about the community, but it's also where to go to find a pro. And so part of what we do is curate and identify the top real estate agent for that neighborhood. And not just the real estate agent, but also the other pros, mortgage lender, insurance agent, the painter, the plumber, the electrician, the landscaper, so that we're giving those homeowners a trusted team of vetted professionals that they can turn to anytime they need any sort of help with their home. We also include events that are happening. So if they want to come out and play pickleball with their neighbors or learn about Body Brain Foundation, they can do that. Wednesday coffee and conversation. So we help them get connected to their community. But then we also have what we call our home safe report. And this gets sent out. Maybe some of you are using like a HomeBot or a My Home IQ, similar in that where it comes from you. It goes to the homeowner, and every month it gives them the updated value of their home. Ours is much more affordable than some of the other solutions. And it's really what we're building here is like a Carfax for your house with everything about your house in one location. But what this does is it helps remarket and retarget you as the real estate professional to those homeowners to keep you top of mind. So if they're thinking about buying or selling, they're thinking about you first. If they hear about somebody else that's thinking about buying or selling, they're recommending you. But also what this engine does is it's a co-marketing engine. And this is very different than HomeBot, for example, because HomeBot is about you and your mortgage lender. With our Home Safe report, it's really your trusted team. And so if you have a favorite mortgage lender, they're going to show up on all of the home safe reports that you send out to the homeowners in your database. And you're going to show up as the real estate agent when they send this out to the homeowners in their database. So we've basically created an automated co-marketing engine where once you set it, you forget it, and it automatically promotes everybody's trusted team, all your referral partners. In fact, you have your own page that's all about you. I should have pulled up an EXP agent. Apologies about that,
I'm
James.
sure they're there. I'm sure they're there. It's the largest, largest independent brokerage firm.
Absolutely. Yeah, we definitely have EXP agents. This is just what I had in my browser. But basically, this allows your profile, allows you to talk about yourself, but it also has your trusted team. So now you're promoting your referral partners and they're promoting you, right? So if you've got a favorite roofer, electrician, HVAC company that you work with, you want them to be part of your trusted team. So now your clients know exactly where to go to find a pro. And what happens on the back end is that this is leverage, right? Because you might have 3,200 homeowners in your database, but because your trusted team is sending out emails to all the homeowners they serve, now you're being seen by a multiple. In fact, in this example, you're being seen by over 6 times as many people. We also do community impact events, and this is really fun. How do you bring the community together? We have 100 different campaigns. This one is the Great Egg Hunt because Easter's coming up. So imagine sponsoring an Easter egg hunt in the neighborhoods that you farm, the HOAs that you farm. We give you the step by step, and then we teach you how to partner with the HOAs. So they're promoting you and your events to everyone in the community. And now you become the rock star that everybody starts talking about. And let me just tell this one story, Jim, because I just love this. Recently, I went to a community barbecue that was happening in one of our HOA communities here in town, and it was put on by the real estate agent and the mortgage lender. And they had invited the homeowners in this community. There was only about 150 homeowners, and about 50 people showed up on a Saturday. They brought their meat to throw on the grill, and the agent had a chef there that was manning the grill so they could just talk to everyone and get to know everyone. But the coolest part was that the dads are playing cornhole, the kids are playing kickball, and the moms were just over there listening to music, grooving, laughing, having a good time. But as I looked at every single person in the park, not one person was on their cell phone. They were just getting to know each other, having a great time. And of course, the realtor that put it on had their pop-up banner and had their brochures there, but it allowed the entire community to come to get to know them and really meet them in person. And when you know someone, that's when you like them, and that's where you start to build trust, which of course is what we outline in our new book, Raving Referrals for Real Estate Agents.
Brandon, you might as well just share it, on it. It's a privilege to be a part of it. So if you don't mind just sharing it, because I know with you and Verl Workman, you guys are legendary. You guys, especially Verl, has consulted. And I know when I first talked to him, many of the EXP top teams, he was their mentor. He helped them with their large teams, in addition to everyone else. So if you don't mind just sharing a little bit about the book for a little plug.
Oh, I have to. Yeah. So we just launched this last Tuesday. So this book is a week old. It's a #1 bestseller on Amazon. And like Jim said, so my co-author is Verl Workman. You guys might know him, workmansuccess.com. You can check that out. Verl is a top real estate coach. He's been in the industry for decades. He's had his own company for over a decade now, and he has 100 real estate coaches that work for him. They're all top producing agents. So every one of his coaches comes from your seat, right? They've been there, they've generated millions and millions of dollars in revenue for themselves, and they've become a mentor of others. So that's who he recruits as coaches. But in there, what we do is we teach the art of the ask. How do you ask for referrals in a way where you feel comfortable and confident, and so does your client? And how do you get more referrals? We also talk about what we teach is the referral partner blueprint. How do you turn your vendors into proactive partners? And I showed you a little bit about what we're doing on the HOA.com side. But what I know after serving over 250,000 real estate agents over the last 28 years is most of you guys give out a ton of referrals and you don't get many back. And so my question to you is, who are you giving to, and are they giving back to you? Are they promoting you to the homeowners that they serve? And if not, you really should take some time and sort of audit your partnerships and your vendors. And what I recommend you do is just reach out to them and say, hey, the reason I'm calling is I realize I have a lot of clients that could use your services. So I'd love to sit down with you and talk about formalizing our referral partnership so that we're both winning more business together. What you're going to find is when you make that call, everybody's going to say yes. And now you get to sit down with them and really talk about the fact that, hey, I don't expect you to refer me business every day, but I do expect that if we're a true partnership, that you're on the lookout. You're scouting for opportunities where I can help somebody if they're listing their home or if they're looking to buy a new home. You get a general contractor that's doing a big kitchen and bath remodel because somebody's going to sell their home. Well, they should be recommending you as the agent that that homeowner considers listing with.
And that's the thing I think a lot of people forget. And I know when I was doing commercial, doing all the cold calling, and the easiest thing is once you have a client that has obviously done a closing with you, I remember building it through referrals. I always ask, who can I help? Happy to evaluate the property for somebody, no cost. Obviously, we've done business. That warm lead created that. I remember I started going 3 to 4 deep just because they referred. Granted, it is in all different areas, right? Or maybe even different product types. But that's why I love what you're saying is building a network, building a referral base, helping each other, especially, people that are just as ambitious or hardworking or high credibility, and having that dream team to market and help each other as much as possible and referring. So I love the book, and I do encourage everyone to take a look. Brandon, I'm going to put your information in so people can reach
Beautiful.
out to you, because I do think this is cutting edge, right? And everyone who knows me knows I like to plug into cutting edge to give everyone here, you showed up, secret sauce, 4 hours, get a designation, learn how to plug in, or learn some tips and tricks. Because I always say too, being in a silo, let's say in commercial real estate, we all kind of learn the same. Those that kind of learn outside their I would say their box, their echo chamber, has the creativity, learning from other businesses, learning from other people who are doing different things. You do pick up a lot of tricks, tips, and a lot of times if you work outside of your industry, there's a lot of referral base. Because I always say commercial and residential, if you work with them, they start referring because they don't want to do commercial, and vice versa. You may not want to definitely sell a condo and with the CC&R and all these other stuff, but this is the collaboration, right? And maybe that's what we add, Brandon, is some commercial practitioners, because sometimes I remember in our HOA, we had leases. On
That's
the
right.
bottom floor, we were doing retail leases. A Starbucks went in one.
Mm,
Obviously, there was another place where they turned around. They tried to make it a co-working workspace. So many times, if the HOA is large enough, they have office space, retail space. They have other spaces, or even renting out their ballroom. Right when dollars started going lower, they started saying, "Well, how can we generate more income?" And that's when we were on the board. Do we rent out certain spaces? Do we rent out extra parking spots, right? All these things within the HOA rules, or amending them. We were discussing, because we hate, and all the residents hate, special tax reassessments,
right.
HVAC, elevators. Oh boy, you better put some reserves for elevators. But like elections, right? You don't get voted in by doing tax reassessments, or not tax reassessment, special assessments to
Right.
give everyone a bill, and they get really upset. So, Brandon, any other tips, tricks, ideas before I kind of open up? Because I do see a couple of people, especially Scott Cook, that runs property management, to kind of share a little.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of important points. Number one, especially if you're in commercial, the stats and the research is that 84% of business to business sales start with a referral. Okay. 90% of people say they trust recommendations from people they know. And I know you guys all get referrals are the way to go. Absolutely. And so that's why we want to manufacture referrals. We're actually creating community as a service at HOA.com. That's what this is all about. But if you're selling in the commercial side, you absolutely want people that are recommending you, so that that trust transfer happens immediately. And that way you're going to win a much higher share of the business than just cold calling people. I mean, when you say you're cold calling people, Jim, I just feel sorry for you, because you got to do it sometimes. But what you really want is your calendar full of people that are raving about you. They're like, oh my gosh, you got to work with Scott. You got to work with LJ, right? Latoya is going to take care of you. When people are recommending you, then as you guys all know, you're going to close at a much higher rate. And what happens is people do more transactions with you. So definitely follow up and follow through. I say the fortunes in the follow up. You've got to stay in front of your past clients and your entire social sphere. Don't just rely on social media. Make a list. One of the things that we teach in the book is make a list of the top 50 people that are most important to you, and assess it, and then reach out to those people once a month, whether it's a phone call, get together with them for coffee, and invite people out to events. If you're going to a commercial event, for example, invite others with you. Never go alone. And the beauty of inviting people to events is most people aren't even going to come, right? But you get credit for inviting them regardless. It gives you a reason to add value to them. And if it's a client and maybe you're going to look at a new project or property, now you've got a reason that you're adding value to them and inviting them out. And then if they do come to the event, You get to sit there and work that event with them for 1, 2, 3 hours and build that relationship and rapport. So there's so many reasons why you should be working by referral. I think everybody gets it, but also the referral income. And this is something that we talk about in the book because we give the example of somebody that's down in Caribbean, and this one of our investors became the #1 Remax agent in the world in the country of Belize. So 24,000 people in this country. If he just focused on the buyers and sellers in his own market, he never could have become the #1 agent in the world. But how did he do that? He enrolled other people as referral partners. And so what he did is he went to other markets in the US and said, hey, send your buyers down here. Those that want to buy in a foreign country, a vacation home or an investment property, send them down here. And so what he did is he started paying people 6 figures in referral fees because they had clients that weren't going to buy in Miami, but would buy in Belize. So when you think about your commercial business, it's the same strategy. Maybe you only do commercial or you only do residential. Well, start cross-referring and tap into that referral revenue because it can be an awesome source of income for your business.
Brandon, my mind is spinning on all these different sources, different companies, different business. Everyone here has different relationships. And you know what? The thing is with commercial, we always say it starts with the land, raw land, finding site location where you should build. And you're right. Many build because they want density. Densities are usually HOA. So when you have density, a lot of times if you're a commercial agent, understanding this, and if you can be involved early, and this is kind of where I'm adding to my team and group, is we as commercial agents find the location, whether help them entitle it, work through the process of raising capital, put the project together. If now we have this other secret sauce with you, adding how we can help them structure their CC&R, run their board right, correctly, build a community, because we know a lot of these homeowners that develop, they need to build communities or amenities to sell people why you want to join. Why do you want to be part of this HOA, part of this community? So a lot of times showing that helps from the beginning to win the deal with a developer. And that's a very lucrative type of business, especially if you created, like through this network, a new sales department team or a network. Maybe that's the thing, Brandon, we work on is creating a network team around the world because most things are in density now. And if you are dense, it is HOAs or co-ops, right? We were talking about that with the different nuance. But people have to understand this. Having this, especially if you're in housing, whether it's multifamily, and trust me, I was in the LA time when everything was condo conversion. They were taking apartments and condo converting, but you got to understand the rules, the laws, and how do you put an HOA when you condo convert, right? There are a lot of tricks, and those that have been around should take all these ideas and learning. I like to take courses and learn everything. And then later on, you apply it to everything. So I want to give this chance to let everyone ask some questions. And Scott, I'm going to pick on you first because you are in this, but I think you could be a partner with Brandon and the team because you are the property manager. Brandon's not trying to be the property manager. He's just trying to build communities. So with property management, Scott, can you kind of share and ask some good questions on how collaboration can work?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Brandon, it's good to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
So yeah, I've been in this for 28 whatever years now as well. So it's good to always meet a fellow peer and somebody that kind of gets it. So I appreciate that. I was a CACM or whatever in California. So, I've done that. I've served on the Master Associations and the sub association. So all on the residential side, not heavily into retail sales, but I'll tell you what you're saying is spot on in how you market, because one of the things I did, I had a management company and then also a commercial brokerage. And as I grew in my career, one of the things I started doing was leasing, which a lot of commercial people do. And so I started doing that. And then I started identifying, because I had the experience being on the board as a board member, and then I got the certification to really understand what, as a board member, should I be doing, right? I mean, residential, those Davis-Sterling Act, at least, and again, it's been a while since I've been there, but it's brutal. I mean, what you've got to do and when you've got to do it. So So what I did is I applied that to the commercial side. And so what I did is I went out and I found commercial associations. So I focused on commercial associations, and within those, I went after the individual condo owners in those. So a lot of the flex spaces. And so when I would go and approach these owners of the condos, which is kind of the same thing you're talking about, is getting to those owners, I was able to win if I got the lease from the owner. I was able to win if I got the sale of the condo from the owner. And then as I owned the management company, I was able to get the management of the association because I understood it. And I was talking with other board of directors, and they just get that confidence. So we actually ended up, when I sold my company, they are still managing several residential associations, but the business park associations are gold. I got to tell you, when you talk about like your highest profit for time spent, especially the giant commercial master associations where you basically manage the frontage grass and the signage of like one of our buildings in our association was Qualcomm building. So you have entire giant 200,000 square foot, whatever buildings bigger that are in associations. And so anyway, I agree with you 100%. I know it heavily on the commercial side and how I used my HOA knowledge. And so everything you're talking about, I think, can be applied certainly to the commercial as it rolls. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of what I know and do, and how I use the associations on the commercial side to further my commercial career. And I did quite well from that.
I love it, Scott. You're talking about leverage, right? And that's the key that we're talking about here. It's not going one homeowner at a time. It's influencing the influencers, the people that oversee multiple units. And there's three types of HOAs. There's the homeowner association, the planned unit development, right? The SFRs. But then also you've got the condo associations and the co-ops. And Jim and I were talking the other day about, in New York, over half of all of the co-ops in the country are in New York. So if you're in New York State, you're probably dealing with co-ops quite a bit. And what this does, and Scott, I love what you're talking about because it's leverage. How can you get in front of people that have influence over hundreds or thousands of units? So now they're recommending you. And the property management side is a brilliant play. Anybody who's not doing that already should look at either partnering with a property manager or getting into that business themselves, because when everybody's coming to you for all of that help, it creates revenue and opportunity everywhere. And Scott, it sounds like you found that to be true for you.
Exactly.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and that's a different thought. I didn't even really, we're talking about the residential, but that's right. There's commercial, there's industrial parks, there's other co-ops, there's medical office co-ops or condos that I was selling or being part of. I mean, there is a lot, but it is building communities, like you're saying, Brandon, building, leveraging, right? Because they all run like an organization, and learning the nuances, learning the rules, learning advantages, working with the larger system of how to refer, send business back and forth to each other is very important. Anyone else? Latoya, LJ, Chris, any other questions? Asuko, any questions? I think Asuko, you may be working on a project in Alameda, but any questions from anyone? But this is a very powerful tool to learn, especially if you are in housing or in development, to build this network.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice today.
Go ahead, Asuko.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Asuko, do you have a question or comment?
No, maybe not.
Just appreciating the shout out. If I can teach one thing, Jim, that I think will make a big difference to people, it's the art of the ask. Because what I find, having taught referrals for decades, is that people don't feel comfortable asking for referrals. So I want to give you guys just a quick methodology. It's 3 steps. And if you start integrating this into your business, into your just normal conversation flow, you'll start getting way more referrals happening on the regular. And it's so easy. It's brilliant. As soon as you hear it, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I should have been doing this decades ago. There's 3 steps. The first step is to set the stage. Set the stage. The second step is to listen for the referral triggers. And then the third step is to ASK to GET. And I'll unpack those to you. I see Latoya writing down feverishly. So set the stage, listen for the referral triggers, and then you're going to ASK to GET. Let me walk you through how this works. Setting the stage means when somebody's decided to hire you, like they've just signed the listing agreement, signed a buyer broker agreement, you're their guy, right? What you want to do before you let them leave that conversation, whether it's a in-person meeting or a Zoom call, just say, before I let you go, is it okay if I ask you for a favor? Everyone will say yes. And then what you want to say is, I love helping clients like you either buy commercial property or find their dream home, whatever you describe, whatever type of client they are. And I'm so committed to going above and beyond and really creating a 5-star experience for you. And once I've done that, once I've proven myself to you, would it be okay if I ask you for referrals and testimonials later on, once I've proven myself to you? Now, that's called setting the stage because you're not putting them on the spot. You're not asking for anything right now. You're basically saying, I'm going to do a great job. I'm going to wow you with the service that I provide, which is music to their ears. That's what they want to hear, right? The beauty is sometimes they're going to give you referrals right then because they're going to be like, well, now that you mention it, my business partner, sister, cousin, client, coworker was just telling me they're thinking about listing their home and I'd be happy to introduce you. Great. Now you got referrals immediately. But it's really about setting the stage and planting seeds for the future. 100% of people will say yes to that, by the way. I've never heard anybody decline that because you're just saying, I'm going to do a great job. So that's setting the stage. Now, step 2 is listening for the referral triggers. So now you start serving your clients. You're taking care of them, showing them properties, bringing buyers and sellers. And what's going to happen is at some point in the conversation, they're going to either say, wow, that's what you want them to do is say, wow, you're amazing. You've done such a great job. Or you might hear, thank you. Thank you so much, Latoya. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Scott. You have just gone above and beyond, and I'm so grateful for all the time and energy, and your communication is fantastic. You're listening for a referral trigger, which is an expression of appreciation. Okay. So I love it. You've done so great. Thank you so much. When you hear that, that's step 2. Now you go into step 3. When they thank you, now it's time to ask for referrals because they're in a peak referral state. And what you want to do is say, I'm so glad to hear that, right? Thank you so much, Jim. I'm so glad to hear that. Remember, we first started working together and I told you I was going to wow you and create a 5-star experience so that you would know how much I care about meeting and exceeding your expectations. Now that you've had that, I'd love to ask you if you have any clients that or coworkers, friends, whatever the case may be, that's looking to buy or sell as well. And focus on your niche because that's how they know you. So if it's commercial, focus on the commercial. If it's residential, you know anybody that's thinking about selling right now because I'm looking to bring on 2 or 3 more clients. When you do that, when you set the stage, you listen for the referral triggers, and then you ask at the right time in the right way, you'll find that you'll get more referrals than ever before. Jim?
No, I love that because we work so hard. Like I said, most commercial agents, we cold call all the time. But once you have a great client, I would just say that was my best because eventually you still have to do some calls all the time. But eventually the referrals just started packing up. Owners, let's say of multifamily apartments, they knew other multifamily, they showed up at the same events. So whenever they heard something, they did tell. So I love setting the stage first. And you said something very valuable. Get the testimonial before you need the testimonials. Because when you have that list that you can share to a pitch presentation, here's all the referrals of people I worked with. Now in the days of social media, some people even video a testimonial for you, even better, putting it on your website. Right there, it gets past a lot of credibility because you and I, we all know right now before they even do business with you, they look on Google. They look and search your name, put it in and put everything else and get as much information. So, Brandon, I love that. Teeing it up, and working on everything you said.
Yeah, and absolutely ask for the video testimonial. Again, once they've said, wow, this is so great. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to hear that. You can either ask for referrals or testimonials or both, right? The worst thing they can say is, I don't have anybody right now. Oh, not a problem. Just think of me. And as you're going out to different commercial investment events, you're probably going to meet some other people that are looking for a great agent. And now you know the level of service that I deliver for my clients. I go above and beyond, as you've seen. And so, by the way, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love you to record just a quick 30-second testimonial video on your phone. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, but I just love it if you would be so kind as to just record what your experience has been like with me. And that way I can share that with others that are looking to hire a great agent.
And you know what? They always want to help you, especially I know many, I'm still friends today. I don't transact for them anymore. But after almost 30 years in the business, when they gave me a shot 30 years ago, I still am friends. And you know, it's great because the kids and grandkids, sometimes I get invited to their events, special events, because I became a family member. And you're right, through what you're building, I'm still very valuable to them. Jim, I need this, or do you know anyone in property management? Do you know any contractors? Do you know any lawyers? Do you know any CPAs, especially if it's concerning real estate or finance? They still call me, just to ask, or definitely invite me to grab a bite, grab a coffee or something. So, being that trusted advisor, friend, especially doing a good job, it's great to start building that social media presence. And I've always been telling people, build that presence, because nowhere else in time can now, putting a little effort with testimonials, writing books, doing podcasts, doing everything we're doing here, allows you to now just put it out, I would say, in the universe, and you just start building off of it, right? And just trying to do the right thing all the time, be the good person, being authentic, and just sharing. It really does attract. And in a way, Brendan, I know before you looked me up, right? You checked me out, you looked this, and the relationships that we had. And if there's multiple people you all know together, strong. And that's why building these communities, starting at HOA, and it definitely grows beyond. So let's talk a little beyond, because I see Ellen Sue here in Canada. She has property managers. She does a bunch of things. I'll tell you, I'm going to the Philippines. I'm going to other countries. I was just in Canada, Canada and Mexico. Many of the people I work with manage resorts, HOAs,
Yeah.
or those. So what is kind of your plan and your thought, like you were talking about the RE/MAX agent growing internationally, plugging in to HOAs, using it, and referrals? What can you tell people that want to grow their international network?
Yeah, so number one, create unity through community. It applies everywhere. I was just meeting with the CEO of RE/MAX last week in Vegas, and they've got 55% of their 145,000 agents that are are here in the U.S., but 45% are global. And I think the reality is all of us want to create more community. I think since 2020, people feel more disconnected than ever, and you have the opportunity to be that local leader and to connect people through that community. That's why we're focused on HOAs, because we want people to get to know their neighbors and actually do life with people that they live next door to. And that applies if you're in a condo tower as well, right? If you create a reason for people to connect, it makes that community more valuable. Now, what we're doing here at HOA.com is we have all of the homeowner data for over 150 million homes here in the US. And so we're focused right now on the US in 2025, but we do plan to take this global. And I'm working with the international MLS, theimls.com. You can check them out. CEO's a friend of mine. And so what we're looking at is, how do we take this concept of unity through community and expand it into every community around the world?
Super exciting. And for those, please connect if you're interested with Brandon to learn. Look at the book on Amazon. I'll put the information again. Giving everyone a chance, is there any questions? Or I'll give you the last elevator kind of pitch and sharing a little more. But any questions? I think we gave them, they'll probably reach out to you privately. So Brandon, anything else to just leave people, tease people, or how to plug in and how to get involved with this, as it's still early and I love to get in things early?
Yeah, you bet. And I appreciate your support. Jim saw what we're doing. He's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be massive. And it is. Our last platform, as I mentioned, we had 5 million members, 250,000 real estate agents. You guys are getting a sneak peek. Jim said, hey, can I share this with the EXP community before we even launch this? That way that these guys can get early access, and you can. If you go to HOA.com/CHS for certified HOA specialist, HOA.com/CHS. You can sign up for the wait list. We'll be launching the program in the next 30 days. And so you can be one of the first to get early access and to be able to claim local communities. Part of what we're going to be doing is selecting agents that we then endorse as that top trusted real estate agent in those HOAs that you want to farm. So if you're looking to capture and serve master plan communities, for example, this would be a great way to do it. Check out the Raving Referrals for Real Estate Agents book. There is so much gold in here, and there's going to be things that you go, oh, I know that. And the question is, are you doing it, right? Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge in action is power. And so we know that if we want to have a great body, we got to go to the gym, we got to exercise and work out, but are we doing it, right? So this is about really not only just empowering you with the knowledge, but putting it into action so that you win more business, help more families, more investors, make more money, and really create the financial freedom that you desire and deserve. Jim?
Brandon, thank you so much for being a guest on Top Agent Nation Commercial Wednesdays. Here you can learn tips, tricks, ideas, cutting edge, so you can plug in early, I always say, to be involved. And who knows where this could lead, but always join us every Wednesday at 8 a.m. PST time. And Brandon, thank you again so much for being on and sharing this. And we look forward to tracking the journey and the growth, because I know a lot of exciting information, exciting things are definitely coming. So again, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and have a great day. Bye-bye now.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you to you both.